All right, this is going to be an interesting video, and I'll apologize in advance because I'm sure this is going to run long. Because what I have to try to do is condense down what took me basically 3 to 4 hours, which wasn't full-time work because I'm still running a couple of businesses in between making videos or making new skills here. But what I'm going to hopefully show you is how I made a Claude co-work skill that will allow me to quickly and easily build repeatable yet varied YouTube video thumbnails. I have made myself a YouTube video thumbnail creator. I have done it from scratch, and I'm going to show you how you can do the same thing. And my real goal here is to show you how you don't have to be some kind of AI smart genius person or no magic prompting skills in order to do this kind of work. It does take a couple of hours in order to do it, but I'm going to run through all the steps. So I'm now at the end of that process. I have created my tool, my skill. I have tested it. It's so far working pretty well. I'm real happy with the way it turned out. So let's start with the basics. I'm in my Claude desktop app. I am in the co-work part of the app. So all of this is going to run with co-work. One other thing that I should mention here is critical to all of this is because Claude is not very good at making images. I integrated a tool called FAL, FAL.ai, and that is an API, a subscription service that will connect your AI tools to other tools, in this case, a lot of different image generation tools. And specifically, I want my images created with Nano Banana. Now, the ChatGPT just put out not long ago their new image generator version 2, and it's very good. It's almost on par with Nano Banana, but at least in my testing, and again, we're still real early days. I think it was just last week, basically, that new GPT image generation tool came out. So I'm sticking with Nano Banana for now. And because we're going to see some examples of images it generated not using Nano Banana, and hopefully that'll give you a sense of why you want to use Nano Banana. If nothing else, the quality, clarity, different poses and facial features, which is really important without me having to do some crazy photo shoot, and the quality of the text is where most all AI tools fell apart. But Nano Banana's got it really well dialed in. So I have that API already connected to the back end of my Claude here. I'm not going to go over how to do that in this video because then it would just be exceedingly long. I'll do another video if that's what you want, but there's all kinds of videos out there that show how to connect API keys with the back end of your Claude cowork. So I am now at the beginning of this chat. Although this image is generated way down farther in the chat. So I thought, okay, well, I could go through the chat, but do you really want to sit here and watch me read you 3 hours worth of chat with my Claude? So I thought an easier way to do this is going to be instead show you the quote magic prompts that I used. And I will kind of skim through some of these as well. Step one is just telling Claude what I want. Claude, I want a repeatable skill. A skill is a specific thing for Claude Cowork, in case you don't know, that it's basically a repeatable tool that now I can just give Claude, once you get all this done, you've got a skill. I go into a certain folder and I just give him maybe a screenshot image of whatever I did the video on. And tell them a little bit about what the video is about, just a sentence to explain what it's about, and the title of the video. And he will then be able to creatively choose different headshots, different poses, different facial expressions, different words to put onto. It'll create the thumbnail image, but they'll all be branded for me. We'll look at some other people's thumbnails in a minute as we get going here. So I started off with what looks like this great long wonderful prompt. And this is where people who are kind of still new to AI really get caught up in themselves and worried, like, I don't know all the magic prompting words. And there are no magic prompting words. Now you'll notice, and as I did when I was getting started, some people, it's a skill that you learn yourself. Some people are better at clearly expressing what they want than other people, but that's probably with all of their communication in life, is how good are you at communicating clearly and succinctly what you want. I use whisper flow, so this is just a stream of consciousness, me holding the little walkie-talkie button down and talking to Claude. So here's, in all of this, my initial prompt, here's all I'm saying. I want a repeatable skill that'll create video thumbnails. I want you to learn from other big channels on what makes a good thumbnail so that you can use them for mine. I already have some of my own branded images and brand documents in a folder that talk about who I am and what my brand is, what my colors are, what fonts I typically use. So you'll see my thumbnails now going forward are going to have this darker navy-ish color to them and a little bit of gold. So navy and gold are my key colors that we use for our brand. I'm not going to be as wild and crazy in my images as some of these that I had Claude learn from. We'll come back and look at these in a minute. This is Alex Finn. He's crazy. This guy out on the cutting edge. Great videos, great content. Like he's diving in with both feet. But he's younger and talking to a little bit of a younger crowd, less business owner type crowds. So he needs to have thumbnails that really appeal to that audience. I'm speaking, I don't know if you guys are more sophisticated or not, but I think I am. So I'm trying to be just a notch classier. That's all. And that's no shade at all to those guys. They're doing what they've tested and absolutely works great. Their views are getting hundreds of thousands, or videos are getting hundreds of thousands of views. So understand, I'm not in any way throwing shade. I literally told my AI to learn from them. So I'm telling them I got some my own brand that I want you to, try to stick with my brand, study the pros, give me 3 good image generation prompts. That's the only thing I started with. I want a skill to make thumbnails. I've got some thumbnail expert pros that I want you to study what they've done. I want you to use my general brand for the look and feel of my videos. Let's start with just coming up with 3 good image generation prompts because I know I'm going to have to take them from Claude to some other tool. Now, I'm tricking him a little bit because ultimately I'm going to get Claude to generate these for me, but I'm trying to keep it simple. So now I've got to review his output. He actually created a document, so he needs to go and look at all that. I also, in doing so, gave him links to a bunch of different YouTube channels that I had him go and look at different experts and their videos to study their thumbnails. So I gave him the links to all of their channels so he could go look for himself, see what their videos look like. So he's now distilling down the formula. Okay, dark backgrounds, 3 to 5 words of text, maybe a gold style accent pop, one hero object, optional face in the right third of the image, readable at a phone size, so big block text letters. Here's what Jack Roberts is doing. Here's what you've got, I found. So he's just finding the assets. Here's what I've got. Here's what I figured out. He turned it into a document. Okay, great. I'm going to go and review that document. Okay, so now we're at this step. Review the output, take a look and see what he's got, give him any feedback. I noted that in his document, he wasn't really clear on the colors that he mentioned for the text in the style guide. And so I just asked him a question. Hey, in reviewing these channels, it looks like they're using different fonts in some cases, definitely different font colors, some with backgrounds. Did you pick that up? I just want to make sure he picked it up because I looked at all of those thumbnails myself for the other pros and said, this looks to me like what they're doing. And so he says, yep, good eye. I picked them up. Let me give you a breakdown. Here's what I'm seeing. They're usually using just one main font. Typically, occasionally they'll throw in a second. It's the multi-colors and sizes that's doing the work there, using some background blocks, etc. I've updated the document to version 1.1. Great. Then this is just me saying, hey, you overwrote version 1.0 and didn't even call it 1.1. So I need you make sure when you're writing new documents, I've always have to have this argument. If I have a version 1, either give me a version 2 when you update it or make it version 1.1. That's fine. I can understand that too. But I just basically overwrote version 1.0 with version 1.1. Anyhow, silly argument to have. So he makes the update again. Okay, so let's go back to our thing. So I gave him a feedback a little bit, said, hey, the colors and the fonts, did you get that? He says, yep, I got it. Here's a new document. Great. Okay, let's make up some fake video ideas and use your guide to make me some thumbnails. Let's test what you've created as this new thumbnail creation guide. Make me some fake videos. So he invented these 3 titles here. Great, got it, got it, got it. And then he says to me, each one has in the document has paste ready prompts plus a scoring sheet that you can use. So you paste them into Gemini. It's figure out if it works. basically he's pushing it back on me. I've noticed this over the last month or two. The all the AI tools where they used to be just super excited and ready to go anytime you asked them to do something, they would go to the final degree. Now they're like, yeah, here you go do the work yourself. Kind of makes me a little irritated, but I understand also that, they're operating these systems at a big loss right now. So they're trying to put less work on the models. It's another important point. Right now, I'm using Fable 5, which just came out yesterday. So this is brand new. This is their Mythos model that's been somehow watered down for the regular masses like us who are not going to go destroy the world with it. And so I'm also, in doing all this, really putting that new model to the test. And I'll tell you, it passed with flying colors here today. So here's me saying, no, I don't want to go make these. Here's what I really want you to do. I want you to create some kind of repeatable skill or process that's going to automatically generate these using it. This is a typo, FAL, FALAI API key, which you now have access to. How can we do this? This is a key important takeaway from this video is people think I have to know the exact right words to tell my AI to get the output that I want. You got to get that out of your thinking. All you have to do is ask the right questions to your AI. And almost every time I'm trying to create something like this, I'm asking this question constantly. How can we do this? You are the smartest AI tool in the world right now. You tell me how we can do this, right? Instead of me having to know everything or understand how it all works. I don't need to understand anything. I just need to know, here's what I want. You tell me, Mr. Big Brains, how we're going to do it. So he loves that idea. Now we're talking. Here we go. I've got your connection. Let's go ahead and generate some images. And it did. It knocked out some images. I think this was actually maybe one. Oh, no, this was not one of them. So this is where I get to show you some crazy images that it put out and how they are not good. So let me see if I can do this. Okay, so this is the best I can do. This is obviously my Mac Finder window here, and I want to show you the bad images. So the first couple of images, it did not use Nano Banana, and I find this all the time. Even George, my Hermes bot, was doing this until I just totally cursed him out and said, don't ever give me another non-Nano Banana when I ask you for Nano Banana. And here's how you can tell. One is, this may not come through in this video, and you just have to trust me on this. Claude actually described it best, I think, when he said those images look like they were shot through a shower glass door. They're misty and hazy, and it's hard to see that until you compare it to a good quality image. See if I can make that bigger compared to what I got out of Nano Banana. The other thing I noticed is that you'll always notice this is the dead giveaway, the text. This is like weird gobbledygook text in the phone stuff here. The text message, that's not any language. It spelled this right, but there's no gradients used in the colors of anything it used there versus when you see these bright, crisp, clear text is readable. They use nice, clean gradients on all the text. It's something you don't pay attention to. I have a marketer's brain. I've had the marketing agency now for 15 years. So these things really stand out to me. There's drop shadows behind the text, just a night and day difference in the terms of quality. So I called him out on it because he tried to deliver those crappy images. And for some reason, that got knocked out of my text back and forth. But it was right in this part of the text back and forth that I said to him, hey, no, no, no. This is where I said, I want you to make me a skill, use my API key. And he gave me some output that did not use Nano Banana. So I had to curse at him a little bit and yell at him. I didn't delete it. I promise I didn't really curse either because I knew I was doing a video. I said, no, I don't know what you use, but I know you didn't use Nano Banana. These are crap. It used something called ideogram, which is some default image generator. They're not horrible, but I'm a guy who sells AI tools and these kind of systems to other businesses. I gotta eat my own dog food here. I gotta have at least some decent looking graphics that I'm building and using and teaching other people how to do. So anyhow, I yelled at him a little bit, said, no, I need Nano Banana versions. Then he gave me the good images and I said, okay, great. Can you see the difference here? These are night and day. However, these images are missing something very important, and you may or may not have picked it up. But compare that image to something like this. Almost every thumbnail that these experts use in their videos, and you may or may not have paid attention to this if you're not, big onto YouTube or making videos and thumbnails. They all have the person's face and they all have funny, exaggerated expressions. Probably half or more are pointing at either the title or an image inside the video. These are winning thumbnails. And this guy's a little bit outside of the box. He's got a few that are beyond that, but still, every one of these has his face, and most of them have him making a funny face on there. So you can go through everybody else's and you'll see the same thing. Close-up shot of the face, usually hand pointing at something on the screen, 2 to 5 words, big blocky letters. This is not going to be a class on making videos or thumbnails, but the point is, when he made mine, he left me out. Well, he didn't have my images, so I wasn't really expecting that. But I did have to ask him about that. I said, hey, what are they missing? If you go back and look at the pro thumbnails, every one of them has something obvious that's missing from me. So I uploaded a few more of these thumbnail images, again, the ones I just showed you there, and said, take a look. And he says, yep, obvious, I got it. The missing object here is you. Your face isn't in any of them. So there you go. Now we decide, okay, so now I need to figure out how are we going to put Neil's face into these video thumbnails. So he's got suggestions. I got 2 suggestions. One is we can try to see if Nano Banana can take an image that you give me and make some of those variations, or you're going to have to do like your own photo shoot and use Photoshop and then post production somehow. I guess I'm manually creating these thumbnail images again. That's a no go. That defeats the whole purpose here. So what he says is, hey, give me a good close up image of yourself that we can test out. Let's see if Nano Banana can do what we want it to do in making a variety of image shots with you in them. Okay. So I uploaded a good one here. It's me in a podcasting studio environment there. He says, all right, this is a good picture. Let me run this. And then he just kind of stopped. And that just happens sometimes. And I'm looking in the chat and I'm like, nothing's happening. So I just asked him, what's happening here? Okay, yeah, the headshot came through. But the problem is basically I can't send that image to FAL to get Nano Banana to process it. Try sending it to me another way. So I gave him the direct link to where the file is on my hard drive, thinking, okay, you can link here. This is a common trick that works great usually with these AI tools. If you need them to look at a certain folder, you can go right click on that folder and get the path name of that and then paste it in here. So I gave him the path for that image. He says, I'm not going to be able to do that either. So now this is Mr. Smart Guy Fable. Says, hey, I got a good idea. I know we also help manage your website, which AI does. And why don't we take your headshot and upload it to the back end of your website? I need an online link to that image file. So I did that. I basically went into the back end of my website. We're going to get to all these multiple poses. You can see, obviously, we're getting to the point where, yes, it was obviously able to take one image that I uploaded, this podcasting image then, and then these were some others, just standard images. This was, I think, another sample. But now we start with different poses. And so I'm skipping ahead here. You can kind of get the sense of where we're at. But I gave him the image. He said, okay, great. So I said to him, instead of doing a photo shoot, why don't we just have Nano Banana create a whole bunch of poses like we see in those other thumbnails? He says, all right, that's a great idea. I think that's great. Let's try it. Let's see what we get. So he starts spitting out these images back to me, some of what you just saw. So here's some images. I think if I click on them, so this is you pointing and the old chin grab and looking shocked. So he's just basically mirroring some of the different headshot style images he sees in the other pros. So great. He says, double check this, make sure, anybody, probably my wife would know the difference that this is not me, but not many other people would probably ever look at that and say, that doesn't look like you. I think it looks like me and I'm me. How about that? So I'm telling them, great, I love it. We're batting 1,000 here. These are really good mock-up pictures that can be used. Here's one thing that it looks like we're missing is that in these images that I'm looking at the pros, what it looks like they're all shot from basically almost the shoulders up, maybe the chest up. And so the hand is up close to the face, pointing at things, whichever direction that is. And so I said, I think we need some more variations that have these. So I just uploaded a set of thumbnails from Alex's channel and said, hey, let's get some more that look like this. So great. He goes through that and starts getting some more close-up shots. That's not very close up, but anyhow, he does the job. Okay, great. You nailed it again. Now let's go back and talk about whatever the skill file you created. Is it going to be able to select an appropriate one of these images without just using the same image over and over and over again? It needs to have some random variation to it, not just pick this image and use it in every one of my YouTube thumbnails. So this is where you have to think ahead. And this is, I have, the older I get and the more people I work with, the more I realize this is not a skill that a lot of people have natively. It certainly, like anything, can be developed, but the ability to kind of see into the future. And by that, all I mean is asking the question, all right, if I do this and this happens, then what's going to happen next? And having that ability and creating and developing that ability is probably one of the most important things that you can do for yourself in your career. And it really matters a lot with AI, because what this does is allows me to think ahead, because the AI is not going to think that one or two steps ahead usually. Sometimes it does, but in this case, it didn't really think about that. Okay, now I've got 7 different headshot images, but earlier we wrote a skill that said grab a headshot of Neil and turn it into a video thumbnail. Now it has 7 different images that it's got to pull from, and the skill wasn't written to handle that. And so I'm thinking about that and bringing that to the AI's attention. All right, good question. Honestly, the way we wrote it originally, no, we didn't have that. We didn't really plan for that. Let me fix it. Now, this is where having a high-end, at least Opus, I would never want to try this even with Sonnet. But Fable, which is like Mythos level, which right now, depends on when you're watching this video, this is like world changing level of AI intelligence. And so this can usually think ahead. And I don't even have to tell it what to do. It just knows this is what Neil wants. Neil has now 7 or 8 headshots. I need to create a skill that will rotate through them, not use the same one back to back, and be able to pick the right one. So it's writing its own little program, this skill file, as we go along. I just have to prompt it and say, hey, think about this. Now we've got a bunch of pictures that need to be used, right? So that's the only genius level AI programming knowledge that I can offer you, is just try to think ahead a little bit. Okay, if we get this working like this, then what? What else do we need to consider in order for this to work right? Okay. So he's created his own set of rules. So, like, we're only going to use the hand over mouth once per 5 thumbnails. So this image here will only be used once, and then it's going to go at least 4 or 5 more videos, thumbnails, before it will use this again. So it's built a set of rules into my skill. So I don't have to remember or pay attention to, hey, you used that pose last time, don't use it this time. It should know all that. That's beautiful. This is why we love AI, right? It does these things for us. Now, we'll test it out. I haven't generated 100 thumbnails with it yet. We're going to see how it works. And if we need to, we'll come back and refine it. That's how AI goes. All right. So now it wants some more. No, I think it said, I think we're good. As long as you're good with the images, we're all good here. Do need you to upload all those images that I just gave you. Now that those are good, put those in the back end of your website. We looked at those earlier, and just give me the URL links for all those images. So now I'm thinking ahead again. Okay, let's take it one more level beyond that, because I think your big brain is big enough to handle this. I'd also like to probably change my outfit in these images, because it's not like just copying and pasting this image into a thumbnail. It's actually redrawing what it sees. It's the world's best copycat. It's going to look at the original image and redraw it onto a thumbnail image, the video thumbnail. Well, if it can do that, why can't it just make me in a different colored outfit of some sort, right? And so I don't want every thumbnail I make for the rest of time to be in a blue jacket and a white button down. How about we change up the outfits a little bit? Are you able to do that as you're generating each of these thumbnails? He says, all right, big brain mode engaged. I got this, which was a great answer. He says, proof before promises, though. Let's see if we can do it and maintain your face, which Nano Banana is beautiful at. And so, it's not going to show me my gray blazer version. I'll show you here. So it comes up with gray blazer, gray t-shirt. Great. I don't own that outfit, but I do now, and that's the joy of AI. So this was his test run. Says looks good. I've got it baked in. So now we're also going to rotate the images, but we'll also occasionally swap out what you're wearing in those images. And so that's the image that's not working. So I upload all of the images into my website, all my different pose images, give him this document that's just the links from the back end of my website that tells him where to find them. And now I say, okay, now I'm going to throw you another curveball because all of this work we've been doing, I've been doing inside of the wrong folder since the beginning. Now, I started in the right folder because I started in my branding folder. So this goes back to, and I'm not going to go deep into this, what I call the Small Biz OS operating system. I inherited this or stole it, borrowed it, modified it from somebody else who I'm sure modified it from somebody else. Everybody has their own OS version that they call it. There's nothing earth shattering or genius about this either. It just means use a folder system when you're working inside Claude. And because each one of the folders that you're working within has this file called Claude MD and Memory MD, and they remember all of the chats and all of the work you've done in that particular folder. So in this folder right now, this Claude is a genius on how to make YouTube video thumbnails the way I want them, because I've just spent a lot of time and energy going back and forth, redefining and creating exactly what we want. He's locking all that into these memory files here. So tomorrow, if I come back and want to get a video thumbnail made, I don't want to go to a different folder and start in a different folder because that folder doesn't have these memories in them. So now I got to start from scratch. Oh, we made this skill and it should allow you to do this, and I'm only supposed to have to give you that, and then you're going to give me this. I don't want to have to go through all that. That defeats the whole point of having skills and using an AI to begin with. So use a process whereby you create a dedicated folder for each type of project you want to work on. And that way, these Claude MD and Memory MD files get updated throughout your chat sessions to remember, okay, this is what we're doing. This is where I find the assets or the images that we're going to be using. These are the instructions on how Neil wants me to do this. Here's your brand voice and your brand DNA, and here's some sample images that he liked, and here's more images that we created, and here's the actual skill file that we created. All of that exists in a specific folder on my computer. So, but I wanted it in a different folder. I wanted a dedicated video thumbnail creation folder inside my system. So this is all I'm asking him here. I'm saying, hey, I've got this other folder under my Small Biz OS parent folder. I've kind of organized them under this Small Biz OS, which is really just a parent folder that holds subfolders. Can you move it into my video thumbnail generator folder for me, please? And make sure you update all the files, make sure all the important stuff gets moved out of this set of folders into that set of folders with all these documents and samples and whatnot. For now, this you don't need Fable or even Opus for. Sonnet can handle file management level stuff. So this doesn't really require big brains to figure out how to move files from one folder into another. So he says, yeah, I get it. That makes sense. This needs to have its own folder with its own Claude MD file and all the files. No problem. Got everything moved over. It did ask me for permission to delete the old versions of the files. So occasionally through this process, you're going to get asked questions and you may have to approve or allow Claude to do the work thing. All right, so he's updated all that stuff. The move is complete. Here's your new layout. Here's the folder. Here's what belongs in it. And this is just me saying, hey, thank you so much. I think I will keep you a little bit longer. And this is where Claude gets a little funny. He says, that's generous of you, considering I'm the one who built a thumbnail factory while you supervise from the comfort of your chair. So this is because everybody has a settings file for their own Claude. And so I told mine, I want to be a little bit like Jarvis and Iron Man, be witty, be a bit of a smartass. I kind of like that, I don't want you to be a wimpy, cowering kind of AI. You're the strongest AI in the world. I can handle a little good-natured ribbing. I actually gave him a good laugh and a thumbs up. And he says, great, here when you need me, boss. Then this is just me saying, okay, I realize that gray outfit is actually a different pose. I need to do that. Now, before I let you go, because if you're watching my videos, you may be subscribing to some of our other business systems and processes as well. And one of the core things that we try to do for all our clients is set them up with a Notion business brain. Notion is an app, a subscription app. It's fairly cheap, like $20 a month. per user. So if you got a lot of users, it adds up. But all in all, for a piece of software, it's very cheap. And it's almost like a fancy database slash website interface. And it stores all of the important memories of your business. So our brand information, our colors, our logos, the voice, the tone of voice that we like to use when we're writing content, all of our standard operating procedures, onboarding processes for clients, all of that exists in your business brain. It's wonderful for a whole lot of reasons, not the least of which is your AI tools can talk to it. So Claude obviously can connect to that Notion business brain. And so when you do a big project like this, make sure at the end of that, if you're using some kind of business brain, that you ask your AI to update all of that in the business brain, so that again, you're constantly feeding this important knowledge, these processes and tools and systems into that business brain, so that your AI just gets smarter and smarter, but not just smarter in general. It gets smarter about your business, your processes, your systems, your people, the way you do things. Over time, that's going to have compounding effects that are going to be very positive. So that was it. That got us to the very end. And I think you've already seen what the thumbnail looked like. So I apologize. I actually thought I would be more than 30 minutes, and I see we're just a hair over that. But good Lord, how do you describe a 4-hour process in 30 minutes or less? But I figured if I don't do this video now and show you the process, I'm going to go slow through this document so you can at least see my outline that I made, including the minor cursing part. And you can pause the video if you want to screen grab it or something like that. There's just so many steps that were involved in it. Oops, let me scrunch it back up so it fits into the window. And that's it. Last file. Actually, there was a step 13, which is make sure you save all this in my Notion brain, but that really doesn't apply to making the skill itself. So now I have an actual skill MD file. I can copy that and share it with people. I can share a copy with our clients, which of course is what we will be doing. I can share it with my coworkers, etc. And they can have kind of a predefined system. Now, that system is defined by my brand and my styles on how we do our thumbnails, but it could be very easily adapted. You just literally load it up and tell Claude, hey, this was built for my friend Neil, and using his brand colors and brand theme, I would like you to modify it, make it work for me and mine and my audience, etc. So hopefully you get something out of this. Again, I hate doing long videos like this, but sometimes it there's no simple way forward. All right. Thanks so much. We'll see you on the next video. Bye bye.